Ladies and gentlemen, imagine waking up 10 years from now and realizing you are no wiser, no sharper, no different than you are today. Imagine being stuck in the same patterns, the same struggles, the same limitations, simply because you stopped learning. But now, imagine the opposite, that every single day from today, you chose to feed your mind, to grow, to sharpen yourself. Who would you become? How powerful could your life be? Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to educate yourself every day and transform your future starting now. Every day you wake up, you are given a gift. That gift is time, and within that time lies the power to transform yourself into someone wiser, sharper, and more capable than you were yesterday. Too often, people believe education ends the moment they leave the classroom or graduate with a certificate. But the truth is, education is not confined to a school, a university, or a piece of paper. Education is a lifestyle, a commitment to growth, and a responsibility you owe to yourself. The most successful people in the world are not those who waited for someone else to teach them. They are those who took charge of their learning and found ways to feed their minds every single day. The first way to educate yourself daily is by reading. Reading is one of the simplest yet most powerful tools at your disposal. Every book, article, or even a well-written blog post can expand your understanding of the world. When you read, you are inviting someone else's perspective into your mind, collapsing years of their experience into moments of your time. The habit of reading gives you new language to express yourself, deeper insights into subjects you thought you knew, and exposure to ideas that challenge your way of thinking. Start small if you must. Commit to 10 or 15 minutes a day. Over time, you will realize that you are not just gaining most powerful teachers you will ever have. By putting what you know into action, you gain experience, and experience is the kind of education no one can take away from you. So whether it's a new language, a new skill, or a new habit, don't just study it, practice it until it becomes a part of you. The fifth way is reflection. Reflection is where growth truly settles into your spirit. At the end of every day, take a moment to pause and ask yourself, what did I learn today? How did today shape me? What could I have done differently? Reflection turns experience into wisdom. It allows you to see patterns, connect ideas, and recognize lessons you might have missed in the moment. When you reflect, you hold yourself accountable for your growth. Even writing down your reflections in a journal creates a record of your journey, a reminder that you are learning, evolving, and becoming more every single day. When you combine reading, listening, observing, practicing, and reflecting, you create a rhythm of learning that no classroom or teacher could ever fully provide. You take control of your education in a way that makes you unstoppable. Think about it. In a year, if you commit to just a little time each day for these 5 practices, the person you will become will be unrecognizable compared to the person you are now. Your conversations will be richer, your decisions wiser, your presence stronger. People will notice the difference, but more importantly, you will notice the difference within yourself. What makes this even more powerful is that it does not require wealth, privilege, or special access. It requires intention. It requires you to decide that your mind is worth investing in, that your growth is worth prioritizing. You don't need to wait for the perfect time or the perfect teacher. You are your own teacher, and the world around you is your classroom. The only thing you need is the will to learn. Each day that passes is either a step forward in your growth or a missed opportunity. When you choose to educate yourself every day, you are building a foundation that will carry you through every stage of your life. Because knowledge is not just power, it is freedom. Freedom to think for yourself, to make informed decisions, to see beyond the surface, and to create opportunities where others see none. So as you move through your days, remember that every choice matters. Every page you read, every voice you listen to, every detail you observe, every skill you practice, and every reflection you make is shaping you. It may not always feel obvious in the moment, but it is happening. Growth is not always loud. It is often quiet, steady, and consistent. And when you look back months or years from now, you will see how powerful these daily acts of self-education truly are. Growth is not always loud. It is often quiet, steady, and consistent. And when you look back months or years from now, you will see how powerful these daily acts of self-education truly are. What's important to understand is that education is not about accumulation, it is about transformation. There are people who consume information endlessly, but never become different, never apply what they know, never allow knowledge to shape who they are. That's not education, that's entertainment disguised as productivity. True education demands that you don't just gather facts, but that you allow those facts to refine your character, your habits, and your choices. When you read, you should be asking yourself, how can this idea shift the way I live? When you listen, you should be thinking, how can I apply this wisdom to my current challenges? When you observe, your question should be, what is life trying to teach me right now? When you practice, you should be willing to stumble so that you can grow stronger. And when you reflect, you should be honest enough to admit what needs to change. Think about the person you admire most, whether they are a global figure. Let's talk about reading again, because for many people, the barrier is not desire, but habit. They say, I don't have time to read. But the truth is, it's not about time, it's about priority. If you can spend 30 minutes scrolling on social media, you can spend 10 minutes on a page. If you can watch episodes of a show back to back, you can dedicate a fraction of that time to a book that expands your mind. Reading does not require hours, it requires consistency. Even 5 pages a day compound into thousands over a year. Imagine how your worldview would expand if you committed to this. Imagine the conversations you could have, the opportunities you could recognize, the ideas you could create. Every page is a seed, and your mind is the soil. The question is, are you planting? And when it comes to listening, be intentional about who you give your ears to. Every voice carries energy, and that energy influences you more than you realize. If you listen to negativity, complaints, gossip, you are educating yourself in fear and limitation. But if you choose to listen to wisdom, to stories of resilience, to practical advice, you are feeding your spirit with courage and clarity. Your ears are gates, and you must guard them. Surround yourself with voices that pull you higher, not drag you lower. And remember, listening is not passive. It requires focus. Sometimes a single sentence from a podcast or an interview can shift your entire perspective, but only if you are truly listening. Observation, too, demands presence. In our busy lives, we rush through moments without noticing their lessons. But the person who trains themselves to slow down, to notice, to analyze, gains an edge others don't have. Think about this. When you walk into a room, do you notice the dynamics? Do you notice how people respond to confidence, how they react to kindness, how they recoil from arrogance? See our lessons in leadership and influence in human connection. When you see a business succeed, do you pause to study why? When you see someone fail publicly, do you take the time to learn from their missteps? Every observation is a class in strategy, in psychology, in life itself. If you can master the art of watching, you'll never run out of teachers. But all of it comes alive when you practice. Let's say you read about communication skills. Until you stand up and speak, until you stumble over your words and find your rhythm, the knowledge is dormant. You might listen to experts on productivity, but until you design your own schedule and test it, the wisdom is locked away. Practice turns information into transformation. And the beauty of practice is that it doesn't need to be perfect. In fact, imperfection is the point. The act of trying, failing, and trying again is what etches learning into your bones. It gives you confidence because you realize you are capable of growth. It gives you humility because you realize growth takes effort. And it gives you results because eventually consistent practice leads to mastery. Reflection is where the real magic happens. Too many people consume and act without pausing to think. But growth without reflection is shallow. It's like eating without digesting. You fill yourself up but gain no nourishment. Reflection forces you to slow down and examine. What worked today? What didn't? What inspired me? What frustrated me? Where did I waste time? Where did I shine? These questions transform your day into lessons. And over weeks, months, years, reflection builds wisdom that no book or teacher can replicate because it is tailored to your journey. It is learning from your own life, not just from others. Now let's look at the ripple effect of educating yourself daily. The more you learn, the more you can give. Knowledge is not selfish. H. When you grow, you elevate the people around you. You bring richer ideas to your workplace. You inspire deeper conversations in your friendships. You raise the standard for your family. Perspective, because they sense that you are committed to growth. And here's the secret. People trust those who are always learning, because learning keeps you humble. It reminds you that you don't know everything, that there's always room to improve, that humility makes you relatable, while your knowledge makes you valuable. It's a powerful combination. And educating yourself daily doesn't just prepare you for opportunities, it attracts them. Life has a way of rewarding the prepared. You might not know when the next big chance will arrive, but when it does, your daily learning ensures that you are ready. Imagine someone offers you a leadership role, and because you've been reading about leadership, listening to leaders, observing leadership in action, practicing leadership in small ways, and reflecting on your growth, you step in with confidence. That's the power of daily self-education. It equips you in advance. It makes you ready before the moment arrives. There will be days you don't feel like it, days when you are tired, distracted, or overwhelmed. But that's where discipline matters most. On those days, even if you read just one page, listen to one short clip, observe one detail, practice one small thing, or reflect for 1 minute, you are still honoring your commitment. The power is not in perfection, but in persistence. One drop every day fills the bucket. It is the small, consistent acts that lead to extraordinary growth. And don't underestimate the joy in this process. Educating yourself daily is not just about hard work. It's about discovery. It's about the thrill of encountering a new idea that excites you. The satisfaction of finally applying something you've learned. The insight that comes from connecting two ideas in your reflection. Education is not a burden. It is an adventure. It is the exploration of your own potential and the endless possibilities of the world around you. And when you approach it with curiosity instead of obligation, it becomes something you crave, not something you dread. So when you wake up tomorrow, remember that the day ahead is not just time to be survived. It is a classroom waiting for you. The pages you read, the voices you listen to, the moments you observe, the skills you practice, and the thoughts you reflect on are shaping you. They are chiseling you into a wiser, stronger, more capable version of yourself. And though you may not notice the change immediately, trust that the seeds you plant today will bloom tomorrow. Because self-education is not about instant results. It's about lasting transformation, the kind that compounds quietly until one day you realize you have become someone entirely new. Because self-education is not about instant results. It's about lasting transformation, the kind that compounds quietly until one day you realize you have become someone entirely new. And it is in that realization that you understand the true power of consistency. The beauty of educating yourself daily is that the transformation sneaks up on you. It doesn't happen with fireworks. It doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It comes softly in the way you respond differently to challenges, in the way you express yourself with more clarity, in the way you begin to notice details others overlook. One day you're in a conversation and people stop to listen, not because you rehearsed a speech, but because your words carry weight. One day you're faced with a difficult decision, and instead of panic, you feel calm clarity because you've prepared yourself through learning and reflection. That's the gift you've been building all along, the quiet strength of wisdom that grows out of daily effort. Consider how different your life would look if you saw every moment as an opportunity to learn. That disagreement, not at work, it's not just conflict, it's a lesson in communication, patience, and leadership. That failure in a project, it's not just a setback. It's a masterclass in resilience, strategy. And here's something important. Educating yourself daily is not about comparing your growth to anyone else's. It's about becoming better than you were yesterday. Too often people quit because they feel behind. They see others who seem smarter, faster, more accomplished, and they convince themselves they'll never catch up. But the truth is, growth is not a race. It's a journey. It doesn't matter if someone else is running faster. What matters is that you are moving forward. Even if your steps are small, they are still progress. And progress, no matter how small, compounds. A year of small steps will take you further than a year of standing still, wishing you could take giant leaps. Think of the mind as a muscle. You don't build strength by going to the gym once a year and lifting the heaviest weight you can find. You build strength by showing up consistently, lifting what you can today, and gradually challenging yourself more. The same principle applies to education. You don't need to consume everything at once. You don't need to know everything today. You simply need to commit to the daily workout of your mind, to the discipline of stretching your capacity just a little bit more each day. Over time, your intellectual muscles grow, and you'll find yourself capable of things you once thought impossible. And when you educate yourself daily, something remarkable happens. You begin to trust yourself. You trust your ability to adapt, to figure things out, to rise to the occasion. So many people lack confidence, not because they lack talent, but because they lack preparation. Confidence is not magic. It is built on the foundation of knowledge and practice. When you've read, listened, observed, practiced, and reflected day after day, you walk into situations with a sense of readiness. Even if you don't have all the answers, you know you have the tools to find them. That self-trust is one of the greatest rewards of daily education. Let's talk about the distractions that threaten to steal this gift from you. We live in a world designed to capture your attention and keep it occupied with noise. Social media feeds, endless notifications, constant entertainment, these things can consume hours of your life without teaching you anything of value. And while there's nothing wrong with moments of relaxation, the danger comes when distraction becomes your default. Every hour wasted scrolling is an hour you could have invested in your growth. Every evening lost to mindless entertainment is an evening you could have used to reflect, to learn, to practice. The truth is, you cannot become who you want to be if you keep feeding yourself with things that don't serve you. Educating yourself daily requires discipline to say no to what distracts you so that you can say yes to what develops you. And discipline doesn't mean you don't enjoy life, it means you enjoy it more fully. When you invest in your growth, you bring more of yourself to everything you do. You appreciate conversations more because you have more to contribute. You enjoy challenges more because you have the tools to handle them. You savor success more because you know the work it took to earn it. Discipline creates freedom because it frees you from being a prisoner to distraction, to stagnation, to mediocrity. Every choice to educate yourself daily is a choice to free yourself from the limitations of who you were yesterday. One of the most powerful parts of educating yourself daily is how it reshapes your identity. At first, it may feel like an activity, something you do when you can, but over time, it becomes part of who you are. You stop saying, "I want to learn more," and you start saying, "I am a learner." That shift is transformative because identity drives behavior. When you see yours, Elf, as someone committed to growth, you make choices that align with that identity naturally. You choose books over endless scrolling, reflection over mindless entertainment, practice over single day. Let's not forget the emotional education that comes with this process, because self-education is not just about intellect, it's also about emotional growth. When you read stories of people who overcame challenges, you develop empathy. When you listen to diverse perspectives, you expand your understanding of the human experience. When you observe carefully, you become more aware of how your actions affect others. When you practice, you learn patience and resilience. And when you reflect, you cultivate self-awareness. These emotional lessons are just as valuable as intellectual ones because they shape the way you connect with people, the way you lead, the way you love, the way you live. Educating yourself daily doesn't just make you smarter, it makes you wiser, more compassionate, and more human. There will be moments when you question if it's worth it, moments when you wonder if these small daily actions are making any difference. But understand this. Every seed planted takes time to grow underground before it breaks through the surface. Just because you don't see immediate results doesn't mean growth isn't happening. Trust the process. Every page, every conversation, every observation, every practice, every reflection, it's all adding up. And one day, without even realizing it, you'll find yourself standing taller, speaking clearer, thinking deeper, and living stronger. That's the power of educating yourself every single day. And when you begin to live in that power, you notice how different the world looks. What once felt overwhelming now feels like an opportunity. Where others see obstacles, you see lessons. Where others complain, you see a chance to grow. This shift in perspective is not accidental. It's the direct result of the consistent education you've been giving yourself. Your mind has been trained to see beyond the surface, to search for meaning, extract wisdom. That's what daily learning does. It changes not only what you know, but how you see. Think about the choices you make each day. Every time you decide to feed your mind instead of dull it, you are setting a new course for your life. It might feel small in the moment, but small choices compound. Choosing to read instead of scroll, to listen instead of complain, to observe instead of ignore, to practice instead of procrastinate, to reflect instead of rush. These are the micro decisions that build your destiny. Your future self is being crafted by your present actions, and the discipline to educate yourself daily ensures that the person you're becoming is wiser, stronger, and more capable. It's easy to believe that greatness is born from massive breakthroughs, but the truth is that greatness is a result of small habits done consistently over time. Educating yourself daily is one of those habits. It doesn't always feel dramatic. You won't always feel like you're making leaps and bounds. Some days it may feel mundane, but if you stay committed, those small actions accumulate into extraordinary results. The book you finish teaches you something that shapes your decisions. The podcast you hear sparks an idea that changes your career. The observation you make helps you navigate a challenge with grace. The reflection you write reveals a pattern you never noticed. None of these moments alone feel monumental, but together they build a foundation of strength that cannot be shaken. Another powerful benefit of educating yourself daily is the way it sharpens your adaptability. The world is constantly changing, technologies evolve, industries shift, challenges emerge. If you stop learning, you quickly become outdated, stuck in a version of yourself that no longer fits the present. But when you are committed to learning every day, you stay adaptable. You train your MEM to embrace new ideas, to adjust to new realities, to remain curious instead of fearful. Adaptability is one of the greatest assets you can have, and it comes naturally to those who learn continuously. And let's not overlook the confidence it builds. There's a certain strength that comes from knowing you are always growing. Even when you don't have all the answers, you trust yourself to find them. You carry yourself differently because you know you've been investing in your growth. That quiet confidence radiates. People sense it. They respond to it. Opportunities flow toward it. Confidence is not arrogance. It is the assurance that comes from preparation, from discipline, from knowing you have done the work when others chose not to. When you make education a daily habit, you also protect yourself against stagnation. Too many people wake up years later and realize they haven't grown. They are stuck in the same patterns, thinking the same thoughts, facing the same struggles, because they stopped learning. They stopped feeding their minds. But you don't have to live like that. Every day you educate yourself, you ensure that you are moving forward. Even if the progress feels slow, it's still progress. You are not the same person you were yesterday, and that is something to be proud of. And remember this, education is not just about consuming new information, it's also about unlearning. Every day you reflect and grow, you challenge old beliefs that no longer serve you. You let go of limiting stories, outdated habits, and false assumptions. Sometimes the most powerful education is not learning something new, but freeing yourself from something untrue. And that unlearning creates space for growth, for fresh perspectives, for deeper understanding. The discipline of educating yourself daily also teaches patience. In a world obsessed with instant results, you learn to value the slow, steady process of growth. You realize that true transformation doesn't happen overnight, and that's okay. You become comfortable with the journey, trusting that each step, each effort, each lesson is leading you somewhere meaningful. That patience is a strength because it keeps you grounded when others grow frustrated. It keeps you moving forward when others quit too soon. It reminds you that the process is just as important as the outcome. Now imagine the long-term impact. Imagine 10 years of consistent learning, of reading, listening, observing, practicing, and reflecting. Who would you become? How much wisdom would you hold? How much clarity would you have? How many doors would open simply because you prepared yourself? 10 years may feel like a long time, but it passes quickly. And whether you commit to daily education or not, The years will still pass. The difference will be who you are when they do. Will you be someone who stayed the same or someone who evolved into the fullest version of yourself? That choice is in your hands. The beauty of this journey is that you don't need to wait for permission. You don't need someone else to tell you when to start. You don't need approval, credentials, or perfect conditions. You simply need to decide. Decide that today you will learn. Decide that today you will grow. Decide that today you will take a step toward becoming wiser. And once you make that decision, repeat it tomorrow. Then again the next day. That's how transformation happens, not in one big leap, but in daily choices repeated consistently. And in this process, you'll discover something even more powerful than knowledge. You'll discover yourself, because daily education is not just about filling your mind, it's about uncovering who you are. With every new idea, every reflection, every lesson, you peel back layers of doubt and limitation. You begin to see your potential more clearly. You begin to understand your values more deeply. You begin to step into the person you were always meant to be. That is the true gift of self-education. It doesn't just change what you know, it changes who you are. So as you move forward, remember that you are in control of your growth. The tools are in your hands, the